Welcome back to Earth School Primer for the Inner Child. I'm Karen Sheridan, your headmistress, but also your fellow student here in Earth School. And today, your narrator for a very special story, The Carousel. This story takes us to an amusement park that never amused anyone, where the rides go in circles and no one ever gets on or off. This is the story of Maris, a mermaid-dragon hybrid, a mergon, who's been told all her life that she's a mistake. It's also the story of Ricky, a dragonfly that visits Maris one night and reminds her that mistakes are often just miracles misnamed. This is a fable about self-belief and transformation and what happens when we stop sanding down the rough edges and start believing in our own design. So settle in, close your eyes, unless you're driving, and let the carousel begin to turn. The Carousel, a short story by Karen Sheridan. A chip of yellow paint flaked off Maris's right wing and drifted down past her face like a sigh. If she could have rolled her eyes, she would have. She knew she'd seen better days, but honestly, what was the point? The flake's descent didn't go unnoticed by the self-appointed monarch of their carousel, Thalassius, the lead creature, as he loved to remind everyone within earshot. And because fate delights in irony, he was also her cousin. Letting yourself go again, Maris? His tone dripped with concern so polished it squeaked. She could feel his stare between her shoulder blades, hot enough to bubble varnish. Her steel armature kept her head forward, but inside she was bowing in mortification. Yes, you're right, Thalassius, she wanted to say. I'm a disgrace to the family line. Alert the engineers. Instead, she said nothing. He'd only use it against her as another example of how she never listened to good advice. Technically, she wasn't even one of them. Her clan were pure mermaids and mermen, sleek, symmetrical, smug. Maris, on the other hand, came with wings and an asterisk, a mergon, part mermaid, part dragon. The engineers called her a production error, the result of an intern who mixed up blueprints. Oh well, they'd shrugged when she'd asked about it once. What's done is done. That casual cruelty had stuck with her longer than any coat of paint. Her mother, Marin, couldn't look at her without visibly tightening somewhere around the gills. The rest of the clan, every last gleaming one of them, had perfected the art of polite ignoring. Only Thalassius paid her any consistent attention, and most days she wished he wouldn't. You should take pride in your appearance, he went on. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? Maris wanted to snap back that he believed enough for everyone. His scales gleamed with the new pearlescent finish the engineers favored lately, each one flashing its own smug little halo, as if he'd been canonized the patron saint of vanity. Meanwhile, Maris's own paint peeled, her once glossy tail dulled, and her wings flaked like old parchment. She told herself she didn't care. That was mostly true. The carousel turned, faithfully spinning in a park that had never entertained a single soul, unless you counted the painted ones. The ocean glittered on one side, and on the other stretched row upon row of carousels, horses, tigers, unicorns, even one shaped like a centipede, a disturbing choice, but management never consulted her. Her mother had once requested to be moved to the opposite side, claiming better lighting, which conveniently meant she never had to face Maris again. Their conversations now traveled through a game of carousel telephone. One creature relayed to the next, until Marin received Maris's message days later and didn't bother replying. It should have hurt more than it did. These days, Maris mainly felt tired. That night, when the carousel stopped and the music died, she stared at the moon hanging over the water. If she could have sighed, she would have done it for a week straight. Then a tickle brushed her ear. A small voice whispered, "What fascinating thoughts you're having, Maris." She froze. "Excuse me?" The voice giggled. "I said fascinating thoughts." She couldn't turn her head, but she felt a tiny weight on her ear. Then, before she could panic, the presence lifted and something shimmering hovered in front of her. A dragonfly. all gossamer wings and indigo sheen, hanging in the air like a secret. "Oh," she breathed, "you're beautiful." The dragon preened midair. "Thank you, my dear, I do try." Maris blinked, or would have, if she'd been able. "You can talk?" "Of course, you can think, can't you? Talking is just thinking with volume." From behind, Thalassius grumbled. "Are you mumbling again, Maris? Some of us are trying to sleep." "Sorry," she said quickly. Talking in my sleep." The dragonfly snickered. "Wise choice. Let's keep this between us." Now the voice sounded inside her head rather than beside it. "Wait," she thought, "how are you doing that?" "I'm simply thinking to you. You can do the same. Try it." She hesitated. "This is so weird," she thought. "Mother would have an aneurysm." "It's not weird," said the voice cheerfully, "and yes, your mother would." Maris gasped. "You can hear my thoughts." "Obviously, it's sort of the point." The dragonfly's tone was light, but carried an undercurrent that felt older, wiser, slightly mischievous. "Who are you?" It flitted in a dizzy figure 8. "My name is Maverick, but friends call me Ricky, and you, dear one, have no idea how long I've waited for you to ask me that question." "Wait, how do you know my name?" said Maris. "Oh, Maris," Ricky settled on the tip of her nose, close enough that Maris could see her reflection in those multifaceted eyes. "I've known you since you were built, before the engineers thought they'd botched the blueprints when really the universe had edited theirs." Maris felt something crack open inside her, a mix of longing, disbelief, and the faintest spark of hope. "You mean I wasn't an accident?" Ricky smiled. "Accidents make messes. You, my dear, are art." For the first time in longer than she could remember, Maris almost believed it. Ricky hovered closer, her voice soft now. "Remember this, Maris. Think about what Thalassius said earlier. I couldn't have said it any better myself. And when you're ready to admit the truth and do something about it, I'll be here to help you. Think about what you truly believe about yourself." And with that, she vanished into the night. The next morning, Maris barely noticed the sunrise. The engineers were gossiping over coffee again, letting the carousel idle like an afterthought. Maris wanted to scream, "Just start the damn ride!" When the gears finally lurched to life, she exhaled in relief. The gentle rise and fall of her jumper mechanism had always soothed her, like breathing for someone who didn't technically have lungs. As the ride found its rhythm, her thoughts spun faster than the carousel itself. Ricky's words echoed, "When you're ready to admit the truth and do something about it, I'll be here to help." But what truth? She'd gone over it endless times throughout that long night. She'd already admitted she was a mess. She'd even promised herself to care again, to sand her peeling paint, maybe request a fresh coat of blue. But Ricky didn't appear, no voice in her head. She'd taken the advice literally. Fresh paint, fresh attitude, even a little self-pep talk, and still nothing. Apparently, self-improvement wasn't the same as self-belief. So why did it still feel wrong? That was when it hit her. She'd remembered Thalassius's full comment. "You're really letting yourself go, Maris. You should take pride in your appearance. If you don't believe in yourself, who will?" Her heart, or the closest brass equivalent, gave a little lurch. That third sentence, that was the key. Ricky had said she couldn't have said it better herself. So what if the dragonfly hadn't meant the insult, but the truth underneath it? If you don't believe in yourself, who will? Something inside her hummed, like a motor turning over after years of silence. "I believe in myself," she whispered. The words sounded absurd at first, like a toddler trying on an adult's shoes. But the more she said them, the truer they became. "I believe in myself." The air shimmered. She said it one more time, this time resonating from somewhere deep inside. "I believe in myself." Ricky appeared mid-loop, wings blazing with sunlight. "That's my girl," she sang, spiraling around Maris in delight. "You brilliant, beautiful Murgon. Do you know what you've just done?" I repeated an affirmation? Ricky laughed so hard she nearly lost altitude. No, darling, you flipped the script. Self-belief is the ignition key of magic. Magic, Maris echoed. Please tell me you mean the good kind, not the top hat and rabbit variety. The real kind, said Ricky, suddenly serious. The kind that reprograms your reality. She perched again on Maris's nose and looked her square in the eye. You've spent your entire existence living a lie they told you, that you were a mistake, that your world was fixed. But it's not. None of it's real until you believe it is. And now you can choose differently. Maris's gears clicked nervously. Choose differently how? Ricky's voice softened. You've heard of the hero's journey? Like fairy tale stuff? Exactly, said Ricky. Only this one begins with faith instead of a sword. The tarot calls it the fool's journey, the story of the soul setting out into the unknown. And that's just what you're about to do. You won't get the map in advance. You make it up as you go. That sounds terrifying, said Maris. Oh, it is, said Ricky. But darling, staying where you are is worse. The carousel kept spinning round and round until the words finally sank in. Maris realized she didn't even know what freedom would look like, but she knew she couldn't stay here any longer. Tell me what to do, she said. Ricky's eyes gleamed. Listen closely. That evening, the sky turned the color of melted copper. The park was empty except for the whisper of waves beneath the boardwalk. Maris focused inward just as Ricky had taught her. She pictured her metal pole stretching down into the earth, sinking deep until it touched the planet's glowing core. Then she imagined pulling that molten power up through her frame until it filled her with red gold light. The carousel groaned. Sparks danced around her hooves. No, not hooves, tail for now. Next, she envisioned the energy bursting upward through her chest, her wings, out the top of the carousel, and into the open sky. Again, she found the pure white radiance Ricky had described, the energy of creation, and drew it down to meet the red below. When the two met, the air cracked with thunder. All across the ride, painted eyes widened. What's happening? Marin shrieked from the opposite side. Thalassius, what did she do? Thalassius could only gape. I think she believed in herself. Ricky whooped with laughter. About time. The red and white light coiled around Maris, fusing into a luminous figure eight. Her wings unfurled, shedding flakes of old paint like confetti. The steel melted into sinew, the wood into flesh and scale. Her glass eyes blinked for the first time, catching the last rays of the sun. She was magnificent. Ricky hovered nearby, tearful and grinning. I told you you weren't a mistake. You were a masterpiece waiting for a reboot. Maris laughed, a wild, untested sound that filled the air like magic. Then she felt something tug at her thoughts. The pirate ship in front of her, the one she'd stared at for years, was trembling too, its pole glowing the same red and white. Ricky's laughter chimed in delight. Oh, you clever creature, she said. The ship groaned, then tore free from its moorings, rising beside her. Its sails caught the sea breeze, billowing with impossible grace. You said I could create my own reality, Maris said. So I created my escape plan. Ricky grinned. Captain Maris of the good ship Liberation. Has a nice ring, doesn't it? Maris spread her wings, climbed aboard, and took the wheel. The ocean opened before them, glowing under the last light of day. Where to first? Ricky asked, landing on her shoulder. Maris smiled. Anywhere but here. And with that, the carousel that had held her captive for a lifetime grew small behind her as she stared into the horizon, half mermaid, half dragon, entirely free. The end. And so that was the Carousel, the story of Maris the Murgon, who finally believed her way free. Every soul in Earth School has its own carousel. The patterns we ride again and again, the lies we were told, the voices that told us we were too much or not enough. But like Maris, when we start believing in ourselves, not in the mirror paint, but who we are beneath it, that's when the machinery of those old illusions begins to break. The lesson is simple, but never easy. Self-belief is the ignition key of magic, and you, dear listener, hold that key. Until next time, keep listening to the whispers. Keep questioning the engineers. And remember, the universe may have edited its blueprints just for you.